Welcome to the first decan of Cancer. And if you saw the general umbrella myth of Cancer, you'll know that we associate the zodiac sign of Cancer with the tarot card, the Chariot. And for the first decan of Cancer, I'm going to hone in here on this little symbol at the center of that shield. And that is a curious image until you recognize it to be the lingam yoni. It's a symbol of sexual union, of the divine feminine and the divine masculine, the two becoming one. And this is going to lend itself to our first decan of Cancer. And what we have here also is this hermaphrodite sphinx, this blending, this union of opposites. We have the masculine faced sphinx here with breasts and the more feminine face without breasts. And so this merging of the two. And this is the idea with our charioteer of slipping between the conscious state and the unconscious state, the world of liminal space, the world of your dreams, and being able to be between those worlds, merging with the cosmos and creating this sense of divine union. And we associate the first decan of Cancer with Venus in Cancer, and our Venus card in the tarot is represented by the Empress, and we see her in resplendent luxury, and she is lying back, and we can see such a ripeness, such a fertility to this card, which we will be drawing upon later in the later myth that I talk about to describe this decan. And so when you get this feminine quality of Venus, the most feminine of the planets, and you have one of the most receptive zodiac signs, what do you get when you bring the two together? Well, it's been described as this decan as love. And again, we're pointing to this union of opposing forces. And the card that we see here is the Two of Cups. We see absolute union, divine union, and perhaps reunion, for we see some healing here. Again, I'm talking about that in just a moment. And what we see here is perhaps our Empress and our charioteer represented. The charioteer has a crown of laurel at his head, and we see this on the woman here, the watery blue representing the same watery element of our Cancer card. And we see the red depicted around this other lover's head. So again, bringing together these cosmic forces. In the myth, the umbrella myth of Cancer, I talked about this enormous sea crab being asked to take the role as a protector of Poseidon's sea nymphs. And so we see here with Cancer the crab, this time of the year, this first decan of Cancer, the protective role that's taken on and the agreement to sacrifice oneself for the greater good. And we have this here in our Two of Cups decan. What we can see here at this time of year is that this decan opens with the summer solstice. And this is a really important time of pagan and neo-pagan celebrations where we see the pledge of the god and the goddess to each other, this sacred union, a time of great richness and fertility. And it's at this time that the god pledges to the goddess that he will, when the time is right, give his life. He will sacrifice his life for the fertility of the lands. And this leads me on to the myth that I would like to talk about for our Two of Cups and our first decan of Cancer. And that's using the star Sirius. And Sirius is well known to represent Isis, in the myth of Isis and Osiris. And Isis is a protector. She is the divine feminine, as much as our Cancer is also a feminine symbol, a divine feminine, a protector, the maternal, the nourisher, someone who cares deeply. And we know with the chariot as a crab, that the crab carries its home with it, its protective shell. And so we understand that the traits of to be that of the home and taking care and nourishing and looking after children and family. In the myth of Isis and Osiris, Osiris is tricked into a coffin by his brother Set, and once inside, it's nailed shut, and he's pushed into the Nile to drown. Osiris is lost to Isis, but she doesn't give up. Her love and her union is so strong that she searches far and wide for her husband. And eventually she finds him. The coffin has grown inside a tamarisk tree, which is holding it. And the tree is cut down and becomes a sacred symbol later on. Here, she undoes the coffin and retrieves her king. Set hears about this, manages to get hold of the body, and this time dismembers it, cuts it into, it said 14 pieces, and these pieces he scatters across the Nile. Again, Isis, complete devotion, brings back all the lost pieces together and restores and wraps her king into linen to restore all the pieces. There's one piece missing. She finds 13, and the fourth, his penis, is missing. And she crafts another one and then hovers and transforms herself into a hawk and brings through magic and is able to breathe light once more into Osiris. And from this state, she is able to lie with her husband, with her king. And from this union, this divine union, we see Horus. She's impregnated with her son Horus that will later grow up to avenge his father. And so in our Two of Cups, we see this level of devotion of Isis to Osiris. We also see the healing, the caduceus, that brings about the resurrection of her king. There is so much divine protection here. And again, we see these wings as she did. She hovered across the body of her husband. So this love to me goes beyond just love. It takes us into a level of transcendence. And this speaks to Sirius, representing Isis here as the star that is seen to be the sun behind our sun, becomes the sun of the illumined, the enlightened ones. So we see here with Isis transforming her dead husband into something that can transcend, love that can transcend life itself. You see here as Sirius offering this space here, this energy for this level of transformation. Cancer, the sign of Cancer, it's also said is the gateway, the portal for beings to incarnate into this earthly realm. It is said that people leave this world through the sign of Capricorn, but they come through in Cancer, ready to be born into their physical form under whichever star sign they are then born into. An important gateway here in Cancer that we are opening up to in this first decan, with Sirius as this guard, this guardian to this gateway. So what does all of this mean for you? Well, what I would say over the next 10 days is that this is a chance to look at some shadow work. What parts of you have you lost? Have been dispersed? Where have you become fragmented? Where are you, the dismembered Osiris? And where can you be Isis, bringing these pieces back together? And importantly, we remember the missing penis, because I feel this is so crucial. Because what does she do? Isis remembers. She remembers who her husband is and who she is. She remembers her divinity. She remembers his divinity. And despite death, they can still be united beyond death. They have a love that will transcend the earthly realm. So for you, where can you remember your divinity? Pull yourself back together. And true to this Cancer energy at this time, where can you lovingly restore and revive, revitalize, nurture, and elevate yourself at this time? Have a wonderful day.